No one knows, no one knows. We all woke up in a upside down, turning inside out, like we've all been led astray. We've been standing on the outside in, trying to find our friends, like we're all just castaways. Feel like we've been missing out.
Hello, you guys, and welcome back to another WikiLeaks series of 7 video. This is the series where we cover fiction and how it has weird coincidences in reality. Now, of course, this is basically just a book club and we're not talking about anything real. So just take it for what it is, think it's interesting, and move along with your beautiful week ahead of us. And I would like to welcome my 2 guests. We have never before seen before my dear friend Tony Peters. Hello, Tony. How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm wonderful. We have spoken about this video for like 3 years, and we'll get into that more with the 2020 RNC. And I was like, oh, we have to do a Godfather, but people weren't ready for it. It is kind of far out there where the Godfather goes. And I think now is the time, with everything going on in the world, to bring it up. So I also have, you can't see him, but Rick G of WikiLeaks is with us as well.
Hello.
Hi, baby.
Hi, I am here as well. Yes, thank you for introducing Tony. Tony, welcome to the channel. Happy to have you, sir.
Thanks, Rick.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, Lexi, well said. I think it is definitely time to talk about some of these things because it's fresh on everybody's minds, and the news cycle moves like lightning speed today.
Yes.
And if we don't talk about it now, it's going to get missed.
I was like kind of hesitating with what we're going to talk about. It's always scary when you're talking about the mafia. Like,
yeah,
they start off with like a dead horse. So you're like, oh, okay. Like, you know, maybe I shouldn't talk about this.
It's a heavy subject.
It is. So thank you, strong men, for being here with me. And there's no way we can do this without bringing in some divine protection. And recently we had a mass event happen where Trump was shot. And thank goodness he was not killed. And the interesting thing about this happening was that it happened at 6:11 p.m. and there's a verse, 6:11. There is a prayer about putting on the whole armor of God. And this is so interesting because it's the Bible telling you to suit up because you're fighting forces that are not human. You are fighting otherworldly forces at hand. So please join me in putting on the whole armor of God to fight this evil that is beyond our density. And oh, Heavenly Father, we ask for the whole armor of God, the helmet of salvation, the breastplate of righteousness, the belt of truth. Please shroud my feet in God's gospel. Give me the sword of the Spirit and the shield of faith. Thank you. Amen. And really, the most important, number one reason I even wanted to cover this series in the first place is it does explain how the mafia is infiltrating our lives at like every turn it can possibly corrupt something that is good and natural for humans. The mafia acts as a parasitic fungi takeover, basically, of a civilization. And I'm all about getting rid of the parasites, which is something that takes more than it gives. And this sadly happens. We have to go through our body and do cleanses, of course, but you also have to cleanse your life. The community you hang out with is going to be the vibration you yourself are dealing with. This is why it matters so much about keeping the nuclear family unit. Mommy, daddy, and the kids will have a wonderful start of a community. And then usually churches is when people start meeting other people from around, or politics. So we look at this next 3 movies being talked about with main emphasis on the community that is being taken away and only being replaced by, fine, you have to go through your church and believe what the church says, or you have to go through politics and you lose all morality and you have to do with what blackmail you have to deal with. And that's the only two communities people are given when the mafia is involved. And Tony, like, if we would have talked about this 3 years ago, I don't think it would be this easy, because you actually worked with our community here in Arizona the past like 3 years.
No, actually four now.
It's been 4.
Yeah, it's been right after I got heavily involved after 2020's election. So yeah, we're coming up on 4 years now since I dove in. It's been a wild ride too, I'll tell you.
I'm so happy. Right now we are in the process of getting Tony's website all set up, and I'm helping him out with the website design to get your stories of what you've heard since the 2020 timeframe, how you've changed, because I know no one in the world is how they were pre-2020. Everyone was doing great. Not only was the economy good and people were like getting themselves in a great place because we had a great president, but I mean, you just don't come out of a pandemic the same. So I'm really excited to hear what you have to say about this. Can you give us when 2020 happened, I think right now in 2024, we're dealing with a lot of people waking up to that they heard some lies. And that's really hard for anyone to do, because we make what we believe our ego. And I don't think it's supposed to be like that. I think we're all supposed to be like viewers of a situation. But with social media and the way that we're being infiltrated with information just constantly, everyone seems to have to pick a side, pick a narrative and stick to it. And it becomes their ego. And that's all they ever talk about. They don't know who they are. They just associate with this programming, wherever it comes from, left or right. And really, we know when you have mafia influence, the virus is both in the left and right. So for you, what was your first couple steps into the community, and how did that change you that first couple months?
Well, so after what I witnessed in 2020, I somebody who comes from in 2016, I was not a Trump supporter. I was sort of in the I don't like either side, the none of the above category kind of thing. Even though I was, I've been a registered Republican my whole life, but I have voted my conscience from the very, beginning, and that goes back a ways. I mean, the first time I voted in the presidential election was in 1984, and I was very excited. Ronald Reagan was one of my heroes, so to speak. I mean, I've learned so much since then, but 2020 came around, and I finally said, I have to do something here. I have to. So the first order was, okay, how do I get involved locally? And I have friends, but I have a cousin in particular who was in the broadcast industry, and he said to me, become a precinct committeeman. And I said, I don't have any idea what that is. So I asked another friend of mine who was already one involved in another legislative district and said, why don't you come to the meeting with me? The irony is that legislative district was incorporated into the one I'm in, so it was a good move. And I went there, and it was all these energized people, and there was, people objecting, and I'm hearing all this parliamentary. Everybody's following Robert's rules, and I thought, well, this is good, man. These are people who are engaged. Shortly after, they started to talk about redrawing the district lines, and what came of that was I used to be little podunk legislative district 1, and it was like the little kid in town, and then we all merged 3 different LDs into what's now called legislative district 3, which is the biggest and reddest in the country, and we're sort of the blueprint, and have been the lightning rod since then. So being a precinct committeeman, basically what that means is you're willing to go to some meetings, learn how to communicate with other people in your precinct, which is essentially your neighborhood. So it's the neighborhood. It's where you live. It's the people you know and talk to. And it's essentially like a 1 square mile radius. So I thought, well, this is good. So I became what's called an appointed precinct committeeman. Then when the term ran out, they want you to go get signatures and become what's called an elected. So that means knocking on doors, talking to your neighbors, and that was very interesting for me because you were talking one-on-one with people, and they'll really tell you where they're coming from. And I was surprised at how many independents there were. And part of the reason I got involved was because I was disgusted with the Republican Party. And then I was disgusted with the lack of accountability and fight in the Republican Party in regards to what happened to Donald Trump in 2016. Because to me, it was obvious the first time, and he sort of got over the hump. In 2020, it was obvious that something was very wrong. So I even volunteered and worked the audit down at the Coliseum because I thought, let me do as much as I can. Then I became a precinct captain because once our new precinct, because it was a brand new precinct, just new lines, I found out I was the only precinct committeeman. So I started recruiting other people, and then after that, the next step is become a state committeeman, which requires everything's elected. I became
quick intro about that. We are Maricopa. So I didn't know if we said that, and why that's so important is because in regards to especially the 2020 election, our county was like one of the only 3 that was like really, really suspicious stuff happening. And we have a lot of numbers here. We also have very easy access to 2 different like ways into Mexico because we are a border town. So we have like the California Baja, and then we have like Sonora kind of thing under us. So, and they both merge in like Maricopa basically. So that's why this was one of the grassroots leader movements and one of the dirtiest, obviously, if this is going on, the mafia influence. We see a lot of the community. You can't have a community that's like free thinking and like maybe as brave as they should be or could be, because now they're involved and implicated. And as we're going to see with, the Godfather, they do threaten everyone around you. So I understand. And this is something I want to approach with as much delicacy as possible, because so easy when you're talking about race and especially religion, any kind of groups, they immediately become a subject that could be xenophobic. And we talk about like what's happening with Catholics, and it doesn't change the fact that these Catholics did something, and people start, having Catholic violence all over the world. And this is something, the oldest game of the book, and millions have died from just Catholic violence. When you explain that, oh my goodness, the Jewish state, not the people, just this weird location on earth, is involved with a lot of things. We don't mean all Jews are bad, which is where a lot of these conspiracy theorists tend to go really, really quickly. And the song that plays for my intro, it doesn't say it at that part, but there is a line I'll put in. And he's like, why are you xenophobe? Like, why is this truth that you're hearing making you hate people? And I'm totally against that, even though I love a person individually and I hate people. And you were kind of saying that when you were walking around doing door to door, you got to talk to like individual couples or individual person. And when you talk to individual people, everyone seems to be amazing. True humans are like the coolest people. You can like hardly ever have a problem when it's just 2 humans, but it's when groupthink enters the equation where a human becomes people, and that's where they're inserting these like parasitic narratives. And I fight those parasitic narratives. Like, I only have one curse, and it's just to smite. So if a sweetie pie honey bunches of oats comes up to me, big ol' eyes, and they mean well, and they come up, and like every time you talk to them, they're just spouting these fake narratives from both left, right, conspiracy realm. There's fake narratives everywhere. And sadly, many of us are, when you hear conspiracy theorists, everyone thinks of their friend who maybe is a little bit too far reaching with some of these theories. And we all get lumped in with those really, really far stretching thinkers. And we're like, well, something similar might happen, but I don't think it's going to happen that way. No one's going to listen to you because everyone just assumes that you're flat earth and waiting for Nasera Jacera, even though it was made by a Bill Clinton law, and really we're trying to make things go back to 1871. So I don't know why you would be focusing an entire outcome on a law that was made in the mid 90s, which won't even be around in my outcome of things. So no, I'm not like you. Like, I'm glad we're fighting for the same thing, but everyone is not fighting with the same knowledge. And really, people need to know that, which is very well shown in Godfather. Even in the opening scenes, you quickly see that there are people who are not in the mafia at all. They don't have any favors. They're just friends. There are people in the neighborhood, whatever. There are people outside of this parasitic entity that is taking over basically civilization.
Yeah.
And for the current version of this breaking up of the community, there's really one person, one major city in one major time frame that we have seen the outcome of breaking up communities, and it was Los Angeles right after all the riots happened in the 90s. That already put kids into these mafia like gangs, and we had huge gang violence in the 90s. And then right when that was over, you started having like this fake narrative put out by the police saying like, we're so done with gangs, the only way to do gangs is throw everyone with kind of sort of similar features into jail. So then you had Kamala Harris just putting thousands and thousands of black males into jail, and she was doing it for the craziest reasons. Like, if your kid didn't go to school like too many days in a semester, your parents would go to jail. And these parents, she just sent parents away if they had like a teeny tiny bit of weed. Your kid was missing, like, okay, break up a family. So then over 10-15 years, we started seeing the outcome of Kamala Harris breaking up these wonderful black families, and she did focus on the black population. So then you started having the blacks become dependent on communities that are offering, oh, we'll do a favor, you're a single mom, no problem, give me your information, I'll give you a student tuition organization tax credit, and we'll get your kid into school. But now that kid is put into a program for like football, and we'll get into the gaming and everything and the collegiate aspect of this, which is just really interesting that we start to see the community being broken up with people on the world stage now.
Oh yeah, goes down to the most basic levels too. You know, one of the things I learned when I got in, because I got in to try to reform the party, so there's been a struggle between grassroots people who got involved out of anger and disgust and wanting to change the system, and we are currently fighting, and we're winning. Clearly, we're winning, but it's taken 4 years for us to flip the narrative away from what's
taken 8 years, honey.
Well, and our nickname for Maricopa County is Corruption County, because Republicans and Democrats alike are all on the take. It's a horribly corrupt system that was really instituted by what they call the McCainites, who are the corruption specialists.
Yeah.
Horrible, and it's ingrained, and we've been fighting those people every step of the way. And the only thing that has united all of us at this point is we all are behind Donald Trump and the MAGA movement, because we all come from that generation, most of us, and we're bringing in younger people too, who are frustrated with the system, and we're seeing the result of it. I mean, the people that we sent to Wisconsin, I was a state delegate. I was actually going to throw my hat in, but I had too much going on and an elderly mom, and so I said, you know what, I'll help send people there, but I'll have to pull my hat out of the ring. And I did it at the last minute. So when I was watching this convention, I watched it with very different eyes than I have in the past, because I had some skin in the game. I was invested in it. I helped send those people there.
Yeah.
And it was a proud moment for me, because we can still save our country. But like you said, there's so many moving parts and so much corruption and so many things to peel back and expose. And it's been very difficult, because there's a lot of people who are in politics or in positions of authority, whether it be board of supervisors, Senate, legislator, who are afraid of making too many waves because then they'll lose their spot. They won't be, retain their office or anything else. And that's where they operate from. So the people who are coming up now are people who don't care about that. They just don't want to, they're about serving and they're about making things better and catering more towards families. So the infiltration that we've had into areas of influence like school boards, city councils, because the corruption really is at the local level. I mean, it's at the national level as well. But when you get it at the local level, that's the parts. So when people say, well, how are you effective? And they say, well, I've always been a believer in anybody you can reach out and touch and influence personally. Part of the reason I'm embarking on this new effort is to widen your influence because it has an effect. People will listen to people they know or people that live locally or do local business rather than just kind of listening to a national outlook or somebody who's telling you what you should think. When you're actually talking to people, they'll tell you how they feel and why they are a certain way. They'll tell you right to your face and challenge you, which is a good thing. It's
I like
interaction
people
and
challenging. I never get mad with, I mean, you can tell it's funny because and I'm fine. I've been kicked off every social media. And like when you tell people that, people, the 99.9% of people who haven't been, you'll have the people who go, "Oh my God, like I'm not on social media. I like never go on Facebook." But like it's known that Facebook is visited like 10 times more than Instagram. So everyone can say what they want, but everyone's looking at your crazy friends and family members who, whatever. Facebook, I will say, Facebook, out of doing everything, which I've been big on a couple different platforms, Facebook lets you write as much as you want to write, and you can post however many pictures and however many videos. So to this day, even though I've been like, my First Amendment has been taken away by these companies, like as a platform, like which one allowed me to speak most was technically Facebook, not Instagram, not Twitter, even though I did do good on Twitter. So that I heralded Facebook, and they took a long time to kick me off, and it was actually surprising how long. So I stayed.
you can trick them too. You can find ways around their censorship.
Your
It's something
daughter
I've gotten
told
very
me,
good at.
you don't understand. There's things that people don't understand where it's like, if you get another one, now you get out of a lawsuit of them kicking you out. So it's
Yeah.
like, I'm not willing to do that. There are like wraparounds where your daughter was like, you made one for your cat like 12 years ago. And she was friends with my cat. And I was like, oh my God. And I can't get into Williams, but it's no big deal. Like, whatever, it's fine. But I wanted to bring Rick into this one. Here in Arizona, so we have, it's not as big of a problem anymore. And Carrie Lake, even though I'm not a fan of Carrie Lake's at all, but she was running on this, and I did think this problem was very important that she was bringing up, was keeping Japan and China, like basically microchips, out of Arizona. This was something that I was very happy, just keep these foreign businesses out of our cheap land making. And these things they're making and the waste that comes from them are not good, you guys. Like, we don't understand how bad these microchip, and we've already seen on a local level what it's doing to certain places where like Intel's been for decades. And they're ruining our state that way. They're taking our money, sending it back. It's just a lot of stuff that I
And
what
looking at it, I can see the microchip plant from my window
yeah.
that they built less than a mile from my house, and it's
Oh, I
a
didn't know that.
monster. Yeah, it's and they took cheap land. It's on the west side
Yeah.
that they couldn't do anything with, and I think it was Westcord that actually owned a lot of it. And when they started building it, it's like, uh-oh.
Well, and they had been developing all of that area south of Carefree Highway near Tremonto, near New River for a while, and they had it zoned off, and everybody was like, "Oh, they're just going to, residential is the big thing here." The last, I guess since the recovery, right? Everybody was really turned off from the housing market crash, so residential was pretty tight, and things started to get better. Lumber was more affordable, and you started seeing all the houses in Arizona. And that was still when you were getting the big influx of people coming from California, Utah, Colorado, Florida, Oklahoma. It was fascinating. But yeah, Lexi, I think to your point about Arizona corruption and the microchip plants, is that it's like, why here? Out of so many places. I mean, I just look at it from the the point of view of what it takes to build these things. And I understand that the land is cheap. And I understand the low risk of environmental considerations like hurricanes and wet weather events and stuff like that. But the thing that people are missing is that Arizona has, we've got a lot more water than we let on. And it's really unfair. And I do say this, I'm more selfish as just an Arizonan. I love this state and I love our resources, but we're getting bled dry just for a few bucks for someone else's pocket.
Those plants and everything like that does need a lot of water. And this is weird. Like when you get into mafia, it's weird the names that come up, because I remember when I was graduating high school, it was like the first election I could vote in and I didn't, but it was Obama. Hello.
Well, hi there.
Hi there.
All right,
I got
welcome
kicked off.
back.
Okay,
You know, I wanted to comment on something you guys were talking about with the water.
yeah.
The problem is they got here, the plant that I can visualize, and we were the expansion here in the last 18 years has been sick since we moved up here. It's been
Yes.
absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it's a whole different subject on its own, but yeah.
But the water, they got themselves in the door. They said they were going to need a certain amount. Now that they're, 2/3 of the way, and they're bringing, by the way, they're bringing in all out of state union labor. It's not Arizona workers for the most part. But now they're saying, oh, we need more water. So they can hold us hostage now because they're already in the door. They're already in production and everything. Now they can say, well, we're sorry. We underestimated the amount of water we were going to need. And there's absolutely nothing the rest of us can do about it because it has to be operational.
There always is. Never say there's not. There always is. But like the legal stuff that I was trying to explain, like how they're getting it so easily, like legally wise, which we can easily redo. It's no big deal. Is the very last day of like Obama's presidency, like ever, he made a deal with one of our tribes here in Phoenix, the Gila River, was it? Or no. Was it the one in Scottsdale? I'm not sure which tribe. We should look it up. I'm pretty sure it was Gila River.
Well, it's pretty. I think we're pretty much mostly Navajos or Hopis in this area.
Nope.
There's others.
There's the Gila River, which is here in Phoenix, and it's not a big tribe. So you're like, oh, obviously, if a water deal was done to give water back to the natives, obviously it would go to like the Navajo or Hopi. But no, it didn't. It didn't go to either of those tribes. It went to this teeny tiny tribe in Phoenix, and they worked
Chin tribe or something like that.
I'm looking it up. Obama water.
The ones that have all the gaming.
Yeah, it's all the gaming. Like
Strangely enough, I went to a concert at the Gila River Wild Horse Pass last weekend. A lot of money there.
It was this tribal nations thing he did. Treaty Water Tribal Nation Arizona. Like, I'm cool with the natives having the basically 90% rights to Arizona water. I'm cool with that. And like, we basically rent it from them. I think that's a awesome idea, but it wasn't given to like all the tribes of Arizona. And that's messed up. So
they're not sharing the wealth.
So yeah, we already see how the water plays out. Arizona has been attacked by water rights from other people. It's crazy that you would think we have no water, and what I call them gringos, what white people don't understand, who don't maybe are just normal people, anyone in the world, any color, not from Arizona. Literally, Arizona is the only place in the world that has saguaro cactuses. Why us having saguaro cactuses is like really weird is because they each hold 200 gallons at least of water. And some of them, when you're driving like through our desert, you just see them piled on top of each other. So they're basically natural little like water towers that when the aquifers under us are filled with water, which apparently there's like an ocean of water under the Arizona. We're a very, when people, I lived next to a guy, he was just my neighbor, and he was from Israel, and he would just like joke about how much Phoenix wasn't a desert. He goes, this place is so green. You guys have plants growing everywhere. I'm from Israel. Like, it's just dirt. It's dirt and it's hot. And like, that's a desert. He's basically like talking about Moses, like going through the desert. He's like, there's nothing that grows. You guys are like a jungle out here. And like, yeah, we are a very wet desert. Where is this water coming from? We're sitting on a lot of it, but they make it seem like we don't have any. And I love talking about The Big Short so much. It's one of my favorite movies. And Michael Burry is the reason I lost my second Twitter account, because we were talking about, oh, just make another Facebook. I've tried. You don't understand. Like, every time I make a new account, I'll do one question and they like kick me out. So my one question once was asking Michael Burry, who was the man who kind of saw the huge housing market collapse of 2008. He saw it happening like 2 years in advance. So he bet against the housing market, which, when you understand how the gambling of the housing market works and all this stuff, which we'll talk about, it gets really interesting. So
let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Stop. Anyway, he said, oh, people ask him now, like, what should we be putting our money into? Because you got it right, 20 years ago. And he's like, water. So here we do see mafia influence immediately going to water, maybe more than any other state in the nation. And we're the one with all the political problems. Okay. So we have our communities being broken, but there are communities that are being strengthened. And we have elites, and the elites who are close enough to be invited to intimate little weddings. Like, these have to be your OG buddies if like they get aisle seating at your wedding. And we start off Godfather with a wedding of these mafia influenced people. Weddings are scary because it's kind of like they're an event in itself. And what is time if not just a bunch of events that happen? And that's kind of how humans time mark our lives. So when you have events, it could be a concert, it could be a gala, or it could be a wedding. You have to have a gathering of people. And if you have a mafia like system, this is dangerous, because like, you're telling people, yeah, I know them. You're telling the world that you are close enough to be with some of these people. And it's dangerous because if there's a hit, let's say the police are good and the police want to arrest people, you would kind of have an event like a wedding and arrests would take place. So weddings in Sicily have this like wedding favor clause that you can ask like the father of the bride for anything and he can't say no. So this like obviously doesn't go well for some people, but like, you're gonna get some questions after famous weddings. And in the wedding that we see starting off the movie and series, we quickly learn that one of the kids is a singer and wants to advance his career in Hollywood. And of course the mafia at the little wedding knows people in Hollywood. So we quickly see the mafia infiltration into Hollywood and the different families at play and what they can do and what they're in charge of. So of course, like this movie maker or big wig in Hollywood's like, no, you can't be a part of our movie, you stupid little boy. And then a message is basically sent to the producer being like, oh, I'm not asking you to make me famous. Like, I'm telling you to make me famous. So we already start to see some of the crossover in the very first scenes of the first movie.
Make you an offer you can't refuse.
I needed a Tony from New Jersey for this.
Oh yeah, and listen, anybody who's Italian and from the East Coast, you have some member of a family who's involved in. But this is back in my day. I don't know how much
everyone's involved. Yes.
But yeah, the syndicate.
Yes.
Well, keeping it in the family.
Yeah, keep it in the family. That's right. Never speak out against the family.
Exactly. And families are dirty. We see people turning on each other. So you can't be like, oh, they're sisters. Be like,
yeah.
That doesn't mean anything. We're not anything alike, but we can fight for the same things sometimes, even if, we do it differently. But this is where corruption comes into, like, what are you fighting for and who's making the moves. So when you think of Hollywood and the mafia, Rick, what is something that comes to mind?
Well, I think it's definitely how they trade people as a commodity, and they know how to get people. They know how to do the dirty work, and that's what the mafia has always been. They're intimidators, enforcers. They're willing to stand up to anybody and anything with money, power, and people to get their way. And in doing so, they're going to slowly start building up a bunch of favors, and they're going to slowly start making sure that you pay those favors back in full with interest if you try to run away from them. And that's how it works in Hollywood. You know, you can't be, you know, I guess you kind of, I was listening to what you were saying earlier, and you talked about the switch into the, you know, gaming and betting kind of world, the gambling world, where it's just an influx of money, into the modern gaming world, which would be like, you know, video games these days. And we all know that the, you know, kids from, gosh, I'd say as young as 8, you know, because, you know, being introduced to their tablets and video games there. And even just in restaurants now, you know, they have the mobile gaming stations, like where you can pay with your credit card and swipe. It's got little video games on it. It's just
We'll get to that
for
more.
these kids.
Yes, it's funny because it's Caesar's Gaming.
But you can't just become the biggest star without doing something or have being brushed with that group of people, because they won't allow you to capitalize on the business that the mafia in Hollywood has created. There's money there. And if you do try and come up and be naturally talented and gain a following on your own, and you start intruding on their cash flow, they're going to be pissed. Yeah. And you have to know the players, and they'll find you and they'll come to you and say, hey, you know, they'll try and bring you in, and, you know, they'll try and cut you a deal, and they may or may not really ever keep you around. That's what I think of, you know, first. But that's, again, you know, the high level. But it's sad. You know, we all wanted to, you know, be a rock star, be a movie star. And I think a lot of us still can. But I think there's definitely a limit. You know, there's a wall that you will come to, and you're gonna have to make a deal, and it's not gonna be a good deal.
You're gonna hit a toll booth.
Yeah, exactly. And so at that's where I'm like, all right, we'll make you the star, we'll put you on stage, but for a price, and it's not good.
Yeah. Well,
totally.
using the Godfather theme, if you remember, what the way they approached, you know, the Johnny Fontaine, who everybody knows is, you know, somebody else, was, hey, we're going to do this favor for you, and then you're going to ask all your buddies in Hollywood to perform in Las Vegas and make us a lot of money. That's how that started. That was a favor, just like you said, Rick. It was a payback for, okay, we did this for you, now you're going to do this for us. And that's how they built Las Vegas. And it was also a combination of the Jewish mafia and the Italian mafia built Vegas together.
Oh yeah.
We'll get into that. That's where this all kind of leads up to, because I was really just expecting like all Italian, like when I was just pulling up, you know, like, okay, in real life, this is what happened. I was just assuming it would be like Vatican, Pope, Italian, but no, like the stuff that actually comes up to with what they were talking about really does lean more towards the Jewish and Catholics, like working together. It's really weird. So, okay. So basically, you know, you have these weddings, and when you have theater, art kids, actors in, which people don't give enough credit to actors, it is very much military level espionage almost, because I was raised as a theater kid, and we were taught like organic acting, which is a mixture of like method and mechanical acting, and being able to act empathetic, like you are basically making a narcissist when you are putting these people together. This is why we see nowadays there's rumors of like Allison Mack and stuff, and it's all these models who you would think are like glamorous, beautiful Hollywood models, but really they're just showing up to be like children that are being sold. And the whole modeling industry, if some models are lucky and get to become actors, and like these huge contracts. But a lot of them are not lucky. And we've been hearing a lot of rumors over the past 8 years of crazy stuff happening in the Young Actor Modeling Guild. And they're like the one people who should have a union, and like,
Yeah.
they don't have a union. There's not like strippers have unions. Models don't have unions, and that's where kind of people are buying these children. So when we start to see Hollywood people in the mafia family knowing how to act and how to stage a very, very real looking event, that's where things become dangerous, because it's horrible to think that 1, 2, 3 events that traumatized us in the past, even as big as wars, could have been really just kind of an event that was put together either to funnel money or to kill people or to get whatever the case is that the military mafia working through the government was needing at the time. They were able to get through events. And you know, I've heard you guys talk a lot about Las Vegas in this episode, and we have seen events happen in Las Vegas which had just a lot of weird questions around them. And of course, as a human, it sucks to say that, because you're like, why are you laughing at people's deaths? Because people do die at these events, because these mafia people don't care. Like, if you watch The Godfather, there's people dying pretty bad deaths. It's not a joke.
Well, the more violent, the more scary and traumatic it is. So it's for effect too.
You're right, Tony. Yep. Everything is about pushing fear, because and it's funny talking about this, it's like Bug's Life from Pixar was so similar to The Godfather, weirdly enough.
There was that ant that stood up to me.
Yeah, but we can forget about him.
Yeah, it was just one ant. One ant.
Yeah, you're right. It's just one ant.
Yeah, boss, they're puny.
Puny? Say, let's pretend this grain is a puny little ant. Did that hurt?
Nope.
Well, how about this one?
Are you kidding?
Well, how about this? You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay?
Look, the last leaf has fallen.
We are the grasshoppers. Where's our food?
Who will come to save us poor ants?
We are the warriors, here to defend you.
I die.
Want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
We're seeing these things play out where people, the little guys, are realizing there are more of us than there are of them, and their fear tactics are no longer working, and it's happening before our eyes, in my opinion.
And there's more people paying attention. On that note, we were talking this morning. I was talking to my family, and we were discussing how it was easier to contain what got out to people, because back in my day there was 3 channels and they were completely controlled. Now, you know, we were using the Kennedy assassination, for instance. Imagine if it wasn't just one Super 8 camera, if it was 1,000 people with cell phones and they had all different angles of it. How would they have been able to cover that up in this day and age? They wouldn't. You could take the same scenario and bring it into today's world, and it would be viral. There's no way to contain it anymore, which is a good thing. It's a good thing.
That's why they keep saying, like, we are the news. Like, the people who are just normal Toms and Joes who took the day off work and went to a little rally, they're footage is being used in like it's going to be used in Supreme Court cases, basically. Like we are the people that we're trying to get out, and we really have to learn how to do it. It's hard because we are all kind of apathetic because we've had it so good for so long. We became little fat fluffy zombies, but it's easy to kind of change. We are the luckiest fat fluffy zombies on earth because there's other ones out there that you know, obviously France has had the yellow vest movement and dealing with Dutch farmers. Like the farmers in Europe have been having their own crazy ass war that like no one's talking about. I have friends in the UK and just talking to them throughout the past 4 or 5 years, and it was horrible. Like we have more freedoms than a lot of people in the world. So you know, the US slaves and fat fluffy zombies have to realize that we still, we've been hindered, but we can still like fight. So that's kind of where we're at in the whole thing. Now in The Godfather, like you quickly learn that yes, they're in Hollywood, but they're also they have their boys in blue being a little bit of dirty. But I wanted, before we even talk about first responders, I want to make sure and very, very clearly state that like Ricky Leaks believes that 98% of first responders are angels purely sent to God. They are doing these scariest jobs, and they don't know if they're going to go home to their families. All respect and God be with these people. Most of them are amazing. And we do have to talk about the couple that ruin it for everyone and make it not amazing. So they show in The Godfather that we're talking with basically dirty mafia people who are pretending to be police officers. So if something happens, they are just the one person in the precinct that can kind of make things go away or go under the rug. And again, this is not all policemen. This is just the 1% of a precinct, 1% of a county. It's not as many as you think. And I also want to tell that to people because like Rick always reminds me, they don't have the bad guys, whoever you think they are, the mafia, they don't have as many guys as you think they have. They don't have any money right now. Like they're
like the deep state in a way.
the deep state, yeah.
Oh God, yeah. They were blood dry when Trump was in office, and they haven't been able to really recover since. And yeah, I mean, I think their resources are definitely thinner now, but I'm sure they've still got some aces up their sleeves, you know.
Well, like
clearly
money laundering in the
and
Ukraine
their
being
little
one
schemes.
I was going to say
exactly.
Ukraine was helping out a lot. Yeah.
Exactly. You know, and that's what it is. It's like before it was like, you know, Wikipedia was begging for, you know, your buck, and now they're just like you really can't even get in there without giving them money now. So it's sad. It's sad. Yeah, I think they don't have a lot. I don't think they have a lot to play with at all. And I think there was there was a lot. No. I was just, you know, I think we're on the same mindset. Like it was like the streets were clean, right? In a way.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole thing about making more lawlessness, defunding police. But there are people fighting back. There's legislation right now. Probably will get vetoed anyway, but they're trying to keep people in D.C. from being able to bet on the stock market because they have inside information.
Yeah.
The game's rigged, so there's some decent politicians who are trying to unrig the game. And this is where you get to expose people because you ask yourself, well, why are they voting this down? It's because that's a source of income for them, and it's something that we're not allowed to play. Like when they shut the machines off, when the GameStop kids, they were gonna be able to shut down the stock market, and the people who run it said, "No, you're not. We're just going to turn the machines off." And that's exactly what they did. They stopped them in their
tracks, ridiculous.
and people saw it. They said, "How does this work?" It's like you get in the big picture. So I think people's first tendency is to think everything is rigged now because it pretty much is. But they're awake to it, and they point it out when they see it because we can't play by the same rule book.
Big time. Oh yeah. But people are looking at this now like, whoa, like hold on, like really hold on, like something is up here. And you're right. They're looking at politicians right now. And they're like, something does not add up with your actions at all.
And the scary part about that, when people start realizing like, oh, something's up, we all go to, the top conspiracies. We hear one and we make it our complete identity. And we're like, it's definitely going to go this way. And then you make a fool out of yourself and you never want to redact that you were wrong. So you have that going on. But there's also people like, we don't know. No one knows what's going on. And what I mean by that is, yes, you have the bad guys acting like good guys, but you also have like these double agents or triple agents where we know every single good police great heist has been found because we had a police officer basically acting as the bad guys. Snoop Dogg usually plays this character. He's an informant for the police. He might even be a police officer, which is 21 Jump Street kind of thing. But we don't even know how long this could be lasting. Again, double, triple agents do exist. And this is just funny, like, haha, this pimp also looks like somebody. But that's the idea of it, is having people placed to get all the names, all the everything, and they might be on our side playing a very long game. And it's scary. Like, it's really, really scary.
Well, I think if people are reminded, right? I think if people are just reminded that these like mafias exist, which is, I guess that kind of does go into where, the reinsurgence of faith has been, where people are like, okay, yeah, I do see that true evil can exist in others. Whether or not I am capable of committing evil, I have to accept that others are, and that I need to be prepared for that. And in order to be prepared, you have to face evil. You have to be willing to see it when it comes your way. I think some people, of course, want to look the other way. And look, this is all just human nature, right? And it goes back to what Tony was saying before about when he was face to face with community. You really get a message across, and there is a magic that happens when you communicate with another human and you get a point across and you see it in their face, and we express so much with our eyes and our facial expressions, and it's a good thing. We lose that now. Everything is so digital and virtual. So, and I can tell the people at the RNC. Could you tell when you were watching the RNC? I mean, the energy there at the rallies are always good, but I know you brought up Hulk Hogan again, and his true name. I know Terry is his first name, but
he said
when he went back out of character. Right. I was like, wow, what a change. And Tony, did you realize that, Lexi too, did you realize that Trump is just so more focused right now?
It was subdued and focused. Yeah.
And all week watching him, when people would, give in their speeches, give him a moment of recognition, he looked so different. Before, he would almost kind of like, it would be fluffing his ego in some sense, but he would be proud. I don't think it would all be bad, but he is receiving it differently. He was leaning forward, and he looked like he was on like Christmas Eve, right?
He looked like a Precious Moments doll. Like, doesn't you remember those 90s dolls with the big eyes? Yeah. And they would just look around. Like, the first couple of times seeing him, he looked like he had this face, and he's just like, looked like a Precious Moments doll. It's like, okay, yeah.
So I think there's a change happening, where he may have had doubts before, but now after going through something like this, he is almost comfortably reminded that everything's going to be okay. And we've all been through that in life, whether it's been, a scary moment. We do find that rhythm. And I think he's like, wow.
You reevaluate yourself. He's humbled. I've seen humility, and he's humbled. He's not ever going to be a totally humbled individual. He just doesn't have that in him. But I noticed he had dialed it down quite a bit.
Yeah.
And honestly, and I love the guy, but he needed that. I'm not saying he needed to be shot at, clearly, but he needed a dose of humility and gratitude, and it's not all about you. And it seems to me like it's almost like overnight he seems to get that. Like, he gets
that would do it.
Yeah, that would definitely do it for you.
Definitely do it for you. Yeah. When you were talking about something I say, especially in like a lot of my friends are the spiritual type, and they all have these names and nicknames because they want to like that's a whole cult in itself is having like one of the cult steps is to change your name immediately, and this is part of the Manchurian Candidate process we'll be talking about. But I'm really big about like saying your name, so it's interesting that we see the cult aspect of the name change with Hollywood actors. A lot of them aren't their persona, obviously. So Hulk Hogan talking about just that, he's like, I am his name. And like I've done many videos where I'm explaining like you can heal yourself by just saying I am your born name, and everyone goes, oh my god, I hate my born name, I've never been called my born name, that's my mom's name and I don't use that name. And like you hear all that bullshit just go, and you're like, I don't care, say your name, even if it's just to yourself, because you're telling, it's so weird. And we have to do this with like programming, like you have to go break it down to basics and be like, I am living and I am registered to this vessel, because if I change my name, this new persona, Sasha Fierce instead of Beyonce, can like enter. So with the Hulk Hogan saying my real name is this, he was becoming naked and he's like, I'm not that anymore. So I can see literally this like CIA Hollywood presence of mafia in our society, which is just ultimately this deep state. These are the early signs of that industry basically going down. Oh, okay. So yeah, we are nearing the end of like the first, like basically the big event that ends. The first Godfather is the assassination attempt on the Don, in case you missed.
Oh wait, put the slides back up. We need the screen share back.
And isn't that interesting? The Don, you know?
Yeah.
Well, what did Trump call himself forever before he became President Trump? He was the Donald. That was his moniker for a long time, the Donald.
And how long had he? I mean, I guess I could look it up. He's on almost at the New York Strip, because I've been thinking about New York flipping red for the longest time since I heard about it.
He's been around forever.
He was on the
as
Strip
a kid.
for a while.
Yeah, yep. He's been an iconic figure for 45, 50 years. I mean, Donald Trump was a household name in the 70s.
Yeah,
and we all knew who he was. And part of that was, for me, part of getting over looking at Trump as a leader was you have to kind of get past all that, because in itself that's programming too, because you get used to somebody being a certain way, and his ego and the apprentice and all that kind of stuff. And he's always been an iconic figure, and I think now he's reshaping the narrative on who he is. And I think I think the guy, and the funny thing is the left is out there saying he's pretending to be something he's not, when if you talk to anybody who knows,
he's been this way the whole time.
That's the real guy. That's how he really is when he's not on stage and boastful. He's that man. I think for the first time,
he has a persona, just like Hulk Hogan did. He needed to survive. He needed his little character. He has an IMBD. I love Trump, but like, let's not pretend he doesn't have an IMBD. Like, if we're talking about actors, like I've been in plenty of like music videos and no one asks you to sign anything. So it's not going to show up anywhere. So if you're to the point that you're on IMBD for like Discovery, news networks, Home Alone, those are production companies, somebody. So I did grow up with Donald Trump. He was on the Rascals that I watched like every other day. He was like The Apprentice, helped me get an A in like an 8th grade little sociology thing. And I was like, I just like copied one of his episodes in like season 2 or 3. And it got me an A. And I was like, I always remembered that. So when I was in 2016, we had just got married. I was 26 years old. I was a Democrat. I worked at a very left-leaning like public workspace, and I was on the first page, I'll put it in, of Fox or something for being in the front row at Trump 2016 Republican convention, when we heard that he won Arizona. Like, he won everything, and we've been here the entire time following Trump, and I had many theories along the way, and I've gotten many of them confirming, which, by the way, I missed our 100 episodes. Our actual 100th episode as Ricky Leaks was when Rick did Star Wars with Jace and Tyler 2 episodes ago, and you guys covered the first 3 episodes, and we covered how like taxes should be like stop paying taxes. Obviously, law is lawless and your representatives are not representing you, so you don't have to pay them to work. And we also went into like if there was an assassination attempt this summer, really check that you got the right guy. And we kind of joked about that with Princess Diana, because on The Crown they covered how her double went out that day, and then they got really weird with the Princess Diana talk. So that's something that you have to realize, like when you're dealing with the mafia, they hate each other. There are like subgroups of the mafia that are trying to get out or trying to brother stab brother kind of thing. And you have to realize like inside hits on your family, on these people, they might literally be from the inside, your own group. In the case of the Don on Godfather, it was like we find out in the next movie who it was, but it was part of the family. It was someone close.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm going to go on a really quick as I can make this dive. But basically, if you are familiar with WikiLeaks, we cover all fiction. We've done like 20 videos now, and we always see how vampirism is involved in that fiction reality. So because, and this is why I haven't talked about Catholics, I'm really against just calling all Jews or calling all Catholics bad because you heard some crazy people with the same titles do some crazy stuff. Thank you for watching our first part of our Godfather series. We will slowly be releasing part 2 and 3 over the next couple weeks. And if you are interested in checking out Tony, he has a brand new podcast here on Rumble. Go to Outside the Lies over here on Rumble. And he also has OutsideTheLies.net. You guys have a great one, and we'll see you soon.